Okay, welcome back to Score on Business, and we're still with Norma. So Norma, in a company, probably well, not probably, leadership always does the most damage. So
Right.
looking at things from the perspective of the CEO or owner of the company, you've got 50 employees or less. There
Right.
is a manager, and whether you know it or not, that manager is toxic.
Right.
And what would you say to what would you say to the owner of the company?
With a small company, a lot of times the managers are also going to be either family members
Yeah.
or personal friends of the owner.
Right.
So that adds another layer of issues in there, particularly when it's family. But for an owner, if you recognize that you have a manager that's become toxic for whatever reason, you have a couple of ways you can go. One is to try to work with them, as I said before, counsel them on ways they can improve, and maybe send them for some sort of leadership training that helps them figure out their personality, what their triggers are, and what they can do to be better managers. If none of that's working, you can move the person to another position. Smaller companies, it's harder to do. There aren't as many different positions to fill, but sometimes you can sort of like promote someone off and get them out of the line of control, if you will.
If
they're
they
willing
add
to do that.
value.
Yes, if they add value.
To the
I mean,
company.
the ultimate decision may be that in a small company, you can't afford to keep somebody on the staff who is toxic, and you don't really have any place to go with them. So
Right.
you may end up having to move them out of the company.
And you can't just come in one day. Well, you can come in one day and fire them, but what would you, if somebody sees that they have someone who's probably going to have to go, what would you tell them? How would you tell them to handle it?
I would tell them to remember Tennessee is an at-will employment state, so theoretically you can fire somebody with no warning. I will say that's a very bad idea, because there's a good chance the person doesn't know how they're messing up. And if you don't give instruction to people, if you don't give them some help in understanding how they can improve their performance, you basically bushwhack them, and it's not fair to them, it's not fair to the company. So for managers, for owners, with that, you look at, as I said before, how you can help them improve their performance. You start way back. If I know early on, and usually you can tell pretty quickly, someone's not getting it as a manager for whatever reason. They don't have the skill set, they don't have the personality fit. So start working with them then, the same as you would with a lower level employee.
Don't let it fester.
Exactly.
So you would start going and talking with them.
Yes, I would start with some kind of performance plan. You call them, usually they're PIPs when you're talking about lower level employees, performance improvement plans. And you help them map out how they can work better. If they're a manager, they may be worth investing in a coach, a business coach that can help them knock off the rough edges. And so you give them clear goals, metrics to meet, and they either meet them or they don't, and there's consequences both ways. And at some point, if they're just not getting it, because they're feeling overwhelmed in the position, or they think you're the owner, you don't know what you're talking about, they know what they're doing, that's when you get to, like you would with any other employee, and say, you know, we have this performance plan, and you had clear goals and you haven't hit any of them, or not enough of them, so we need to make a change. That can take you, with a manager, that can take you a good 6 months to a year. So along the way, you have to kind of mitigate the effects of that, and maybe you take some responsibilities away from them.
Well, if they, I'm thinking if you bring things to their attention and there's no change, you might not wait a whole year.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you can speed up that timeline if you want.
But if somebody doesn't realize what they're doing and they're trying, then, and so how do you document all of this to protect the company?
Most commonly with a performance plan, you're going to discuss that with the employee, including a manager. You're going to have them sign off, yes, I understand, here's what I have to do, and this is the timeline. And then you meet periodically and you track, have we hit that goal, have we hit that goal? So you're going to have something in writing that charts the chronology of, here's when we started talking, here's what you had to do, here's what you've done or not done, here's the improvement that we see. So you do want to have something in there that helps you more than just a gut feeling. And that will vary depending on what the skill set is that you're talking about, the situation.
So do you have examples in your book where there was a problem employee or a problem, somebody was a problem, and whoever was in charge above them did nothing? They knew it was a problem, but kind of avoiding conflict or whatever?
You get, yes, and I think it's in a couple of them that talk about like the indecisive bosses, because they're the worst about that, about letting problem employees, their subordinates, run amok. And when that happens, it destroys the morale of everybody else working in that section. And in a small company, that can mean every employee in the place. And if nobody wants to show up to work, you no longer have a functioning business. So if you're the owner and you see a manager who's not dealing with a situation with one of the manager's subordinates, you may, as the owner, have to step in and say, you know what, you're not managing effectively, so I have a problem with your management, and I also have a problem with this toxic employee, and I need to figure out a game plan to deal with both. I'd suggest starting with the toxic employee, and if the owner has to step in and say, this is my company, this is my reputation, my livelihood, and the livelihood of all the other employees, and you're a problem child and we need you to go. And then you find a way to document that and move them out. Then you go back to the manager and say, okay, that didn't work. Somehow you're not getting everything that you need to do as a manager. So we need to figure out, is it a matter of training? Is it a matter of you not really wanting to be a manager?
We need to take a break right now, and we'll come back and get right back on it. We'll be right back. So